Have you ever wondered what makes the Indian Constitution unique compared to other constitutions of the world? Why does it work the way it does, and what are the key characteristics that define it? Welcome to PS Choudhary. Before we move to today's topic, let us quickly recall what we studied in the previous lecture. In the previous video, we discussed the sources of the Indian Constitution. We learned that the framers of the Constitution studied more than 60 constitutions across the world. They borrowed useful features from many countries such as the United Kingdom, the United States, Ireland, Canada, Australia, and others. But these ideas were not copied blindly. They were carefully adapted to suit India's unique historical, political, and social conditions. Now the next important question arises. What are the major characteristics that define the Indian Constitution? These are known as the salient features of the Constitution. You can think of salient features as the personality traits of the Constitution. Just like a person has certain qualities that define their personality, every constitution also has certain distinctive features that explain how it functions. Let us now understand the major salient features of the Indian Constitution. First, the Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. The reason for this lies in the nature of Indian society. India is an extremely diverse country with enormous differences in language, religion, culture, caste, and geography. Because of this complexity, the framers of the Constitution decided to make the document very detailed and comprehensive rather than leaving many issues to ordinary laws. Originally, when the Constitution came into force in 1950, it contained 395 articles, 8 schedules, and 22 parts. Today, after many amendments, it contains 448 articles, 12 schedules, and 25 parts. If you compare this with other countries, the difference becomes very clear. For example, the Constitution of the United States has only 7 articles. Another interesting feature is that the Indian Constitution contains many administrative provisions. It includes detailed rules regarding elections, civil services, emergency powers, and financial administration. Many other constitutions leave such matters to ordinary legislation. Now let us move to the second feature. The Indian Constitution is drawn from various sources. As we discussed in the previous lecture, the framers studied constitutions from many countries and adopted features that suited Indian conditions. For example, the parliamentary system came from the United Kingdom, fundamental rights were influenced by the United States, directive principles came from Ireland, and the federal system with a strong centre was inspired by Canada. This combination of ideas from different sources makes the Indian Constitution both rich and flexible. Now let us look at the third important feature. The Constitution represents a blend of rigidity and flexibility. Some constitutions are very rigid, meaning they are difficult to amend. For example, the Constitution of the United States requires a very complex procedure for amendment. Other constitutions, such as that of the United Kingdom, are very flexible and can be amended easily by ordinary legislation. The Indian Constitution follows a middle path. It provides 3 different methods for amendment. First, some provisions can be amended by a simple majority in Parliament. Second, most constitutional amendments require a special majority. This means 2/3 of the members present and voting, along with a majority of the total membership of the House. Third, certain federal provisions require not only a special majority in Parliament but also ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. Because of this combination of rigidity and flexibility, the constitutional expert K.C. Ware described the Indian Constitution as quasi-rigid. Now let us understand another important feature. India has a federal system with a unitary bias. In a federal system, powers are divided between the central government and the state governments. India has many federal features. For example, it has a written constitution, a clear division of powers between the union and the states, an independent judiciary, and a bicameral legislature at the national level. However, India also has several unitary features. For example, the country has a single constitution, single citizenship, and an integrated judicial system. The central government has strong powers during emergencies, and Parliament can even change the boundaries of states. Because of this combination, the Indian system is often described as quasi-federal. Several scholars have given interesting descriptions of Indian federalism. C. Ware called it quasi-federal, meaning federal in form but unitary in spirit. Granville Austin described it as cooperative federalism, where the center and the states work together. Ivor Jennings referred to it as a federation with a strong centralizing tendency. D. Bosu explained that the Indian system is neither purely federal nor purely unitary but a combination of both. Now let us move to another important feature. India follows the parliamentary form of government. This system is based on the British Westminster model. Under this system, the executive is responsible to the legislature. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers must maintain the confidence of the Lok Sabha. The President acts as the constitutional or nominal head of state, while real executive power lies with the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The framers of the Constitution deliberately chose the parliamentary system instead of the presidential system followed in the United States. They believed that the parliamentary model would provide greater accountability because the executive must regularly answer questions in Parliament. Now let us discuss another major feature. India has an integrated and independent judiciary. Unlike the United States, where there are separate federal and state court systems, India has a single integrated judicial system. At the top of this system is the Supreme Court of India. Below it are the high courts of the states, and beneath them are subordinate courts. The judiciary is also designed to be independent. Judges enjoy security of tenure, their salaries are charged to the Consolidated Fund of India, and they can only be removed through a complex impeachment procedure. Now let us move to another important feature. The Indian Constitution establishes what we can call a constitutional triad. This triad consists of fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, and fundamental duties. Fundamental rights, contained in Part 3 of the Constitution, protect the basic freedoms of citizens and can be enforced in courts. Directive principles of state policy, found in Part 4, guide the government in promoting social and economic welfare. Although they are not enforceable in courts, they are considered fundamental in governance. Fundamental duties, listed in Article 51A, define certain responsibilities that citizens owe to the nation. Together, these three elements create a balance between individual rights, state responsibilities, and citizen duties. Now let us discuss another important feature. India is a secular state. However, Indian secularism is different from the Western concept of secularism. In many Western countries, secularism means a strict separation between religion and the state. In India, secularism means that the state treats all religions equally. This approach is often described as positive secularism. The state can also intervene in religious practices if necessary to remove social evils or promote social reform. The word secular was added to the preamble by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment in 1976. However, the Constitution already contained secular provisions from the beginning, especially in Articles 25 to 28, which guarantee freedom of religion. Now let us look at another major feature. The Constitution guarantees universal adult franchise. This means that every citizen above the age of 18 has the right to vote, regardless of gender, religion, education, or property. Originally, the voting age was 21. It was reduced to 18 through the 61st Constitutional Amendment in 1989. This decision was remarkable because India adopted universal adult franchise immediately after independence, even before achieving high levels of literacy or economic development. Finally, another important feature is single citizenship. In India, every person holds only one citizenship, Indian citizenship. There is no separate state citizenship. This is different from countries like the United States, where people have both national and state citizenship. The framers of the Constitution adopted single citizenship to promote national unity and prevent regional divisions. Now let us quickly revise the key ideas. First, the Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. Second, it draws ideas from various global sources but adapts them to Indian conditions. Third, it combines rigidity and flexibility in its amendment process. Fourth, it establishes a federal system with a strong central government. And finally, it includes several defining features such as the parliamentary system, an independent judiciary, fundamental rights and duties, secularism, universal adult franchise, and single citizenship. In the next lecture, we will move forward and examine the nature of the Indian Constitution, particularly the debate over whether India is truly federal or unitary in character.